I definitely have to ask you, Winter Soldier, huge movie, so awesome. You have one of these parts that people just loved. How did it change for you sort of after Winter Soldier came out in terms of people wanting to talk to you, in terms of the fan response? Did you notice immediately, oh wow, Bucky really, people really,
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, it's so different. Even when we were at the premiere the other night and seeing people dressed up in costume and stuff, especially because the character had, in my opinion, an introduction in the Winter Soldier. I mean, it was just sort of like a preview of the guy, which we get so much more of in Civil War, and I'm grateful for that. But to see that response to that was awesome, because it just made me think like, wow, people really got behind the character, and that's what you're hoping for, and especially given that I didn't really have any lines to say or anything, which probably made it for the better, to be honest. But
well, I think that, and I actually wanted to talk about that specifically, is that you have to do a lot with your look, with the physicality of the role, rather than the delivering of dialogue. And I'm sort of curious how you sort of maybe got ready for that, and of course, how much more dialogue do you have in the subsequent movie?
I do. I mean, they gave me a lot more dialogue, and then I thought, oh my God, it was so much better when I didn't have to say things. Now I really have to try and, it just, the look of the Winter Soldier is a very specific look. I mean, there was something very specific in how the guy looked and behaved, and I felt like, the more I stepped back and I just kind of let that do the work, the better it was going to be. And in a situation like that, you're sort of trying to guess like where the guy is at in his mind, and that certainly continues in the Civil War movie. You're always trying to guess sort of what side is he on, or where is he, because he can go both ways. I mean, that's me being really lucky with a character like that, where you can kind of, I mean, they could write something for him tomorrow where he could, he could be the worst assassin, I mean, the worst terrible villain killer, whatever, or he could be like this guy who is endearing, or, is trying to rebuild his life. So there's a lot of stuff to go, there's a lot of places to go with the character, and that's exciting.
Well, I think that also excites fans too, because he's such a wild card, because you really don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I kind of like that he doesn't really have superpowers. I mean, he's got this metal arm and stuff, and sort of the serum situation, but he's sort of just a dude. I mean, it's just kind of funny, placing him next to like the Scarlet Witch or something, where she's got all this stuff, and he's sort of, I'm going like, what is he going to do? He's just going to block a lot of stuff with his metal arm, But I think it's good. It's relatable. He could die at any point.
When did you know that scene would be after the credits in Ant-Man?
Like 2 days before, we were on set, and somebody went, "Oh, by the way, do you know that there's a thing at the end of Ant-Man and you guys are in it?" And I was like, "No, I don't, but I'd love to go see it now." So I know what we shot, and it's kind of interesting because we shot that scene in early May, so it's interesting that they decided to use that.
Yeah, I heard that scene, I don't want to ruin anything, because I'm not a spoiler person, but I did hear that scene takes place in like the middle of the movie or something. It's like not at the beginning of the film, in terms of Civil War.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere in the middle. Yeah, that makes sense.
There's just a lot going on,
There's a lot going on, but that's amazing. That's a thing that the writers did so well. I mean, they were able to put together a 2.5 hour movie where all of this stuff happens, and it's still a very character-based film. I mean, I know everybody's treating it like, there's all of these Avengers in it, and it's like Avengers 2.5 or something, and there's an element of that, but it's still, at the end of the day, very much of a Captain America film. Like, it's different from the Avengers. It's definitely its own entity. It totally connects to the last Winter Soldier film. So, and the Russo stamp is all over it. So,
Yeah, I cannot wait because I think the reason why the Marvel movies are so good, especially Winter Soldier, is that Winter Soldier is a 70s political thriller that happens to star Captain America. And what I'm curious about is what kind of take is Civil War in terms of, because it's obviously going to be a reboot and a reinvention. You know what I mean?
I know. I'm sitting here like listening to you, and like I'm thinking, I'm like, do I want to fire some shots at DC right now, like Zack Snyder? Do I want to? I read some of those comments where you said something about Batman and Superman. I can't remember where I read that somewhere about like it's not going to be your flavor of the week Ant-Man, and I was like, oh, thanks, Zach. That's great. Like, way to do something original. But I would say we're still making something very original in our own way. I mean, the Russos are coming in and they're taking something that people are used to, and they're shaping it up and changing it in a very different way. You know, they're not trying to mimic a better Christopher Nolan movie or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I think the Russos are fucking amazing, and I think that I'm so happy they're doing the next two Avengers because I think that they're going to be knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Marvel's very aware of its capabilities and its brand. Like, I mean, it's like this weird flower, that you're watching grow and expand, and people are just going, okay, how do we make it better? How do we, the light's different now. Like we gotta continue and make a difference or changing it up or something. And I think they're definitely much more original that way.
I'm almost out of time with you, so I'm very curious. I'm assuming that Bucky is definitely a part of the next two Avengers movies.
Again, it's totally not something I know for sure. Like, it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, sometimes I wish I knew to sort of get my life back together. I'm like, oh, I might as well just not cut my hair at all, but I really don't know. I mean, it's so early to know that, but hopefully,
That's actually my last question. It's about the hair. It's almost like Bucky in Winter Soldier has like this anime-ish kind of, hair. How much was that you? How much was that the Russos? And how much does that style that he had play into Civil War?
Well, I mean, the thing is, the character had to be familiar. You couldn't necessarily have him just immediately go to just like a short look. I mean, not enough time has passed, and but he definitely has like a look to him, and that's cool, and he definitely stands out a little bit among the other like short haircuts or whatnot. But
you know what I'm talking about with the Japanese anime haircut with the hair in the face.
It's true. I mean, they're so specific, and that's, by the way, that's why like Thor has long hair, and that's why a lot of comic book movies, I think it was The Crow they did that, but that's not a comic book. But and I finally asked somebody about it, and they told me, they were like, dude, it's just so much easier when you're drawing comic books to give the characters long hair because they just look epic. They're like in the middle of a fight scene, and the hair is like all over the place, and like you can tell, when they're flying or when they're falling or when they're, so that's kind of like the reason why a lot of these characters have long hair. I mean, I'm just happy I lucked out with it. It's definitely like a bitch over time to have, but
I experience it every day.
Yeah, I know. You're like you got the Lex Luthor look.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love waking up like this.
I know. It's boom, done. You're out of that. You brush your teeth and you're out.
Exactly. I gotta go. I really mean this. Martian is fantastic.
Cool, man.
Cannot wait for the next Marvel movie.
Oh, cool. Thank you.